Welcome everyone back to the TechFlow Future stage. Still to come this afternoon, a session on IP, and also keeping with our theme of AI and machine learning, we round off today with a look at machine learning and the bigger picture. But now we head to the cloud. Of course, using cloud is pretty much a commonplace part of many of our content workflows, and every software vendor that you deal with has some sort of cloud solution. The challenge, though, is how you integrate them and stick them all together, and particularly when you're working with multiple cloud providers for infrastructure as a service and multiple software as a service providers, it can get really complicated quite quickly, and a software-defined architecture can well be the answer to that. To help us understand what that is, and whether it leads to this holy grail of an app store for broadcasters where everything you need is available at the touch of a button, I'd like to welcome Andy Newton, who's a solution architect at Quest Media. So Andy is going to take us through his vision for the app store for broadcasters, joining all the cloud together. If you've got questions for Andy, please, later on in the session, we'll be coming around with a microphone, so put your hand up, ask away. And please also share your thoughts and ideas on social media. The hashtag on Twitter is hashtag BVE19. So over to Andy.
Thanks very much, Rob. And thank you for coming, and thanks for welcoming us here today. I'm Andy Newton from Quest Media. I don't know whether many of you have heard of Quest Media. I noticed a few familiar faces, but not many. Hello, Peter. So I will just do a short introduction. Quest Media was founded about 25 years ago in Germany, in Cologne, and we started off with box sales and making trucks. But before long, we moved into more wide-ranging system integration projects, and now we have a design and consultancy section of about 30 consultants. We've got a full end-to-end system integration department, and we can also do the managed service of technical, not managed service in the sense of operation, but managed technical service. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. We've also got a very successful products division, and we've recently expanded into cybersecurity and also into software development, which is a response to where we feel that we need to be as a system integrator in the coming years. A few of my colleagues are here. If I could get you to stand up and give us a wave. And we've got, going from the right, we've got Theo Peters, who's our new partner manager for Quest Cloud. Aaron Kelly, who's a member of our engineering team in the support team. And at the back there, Françoise Samal, who's our director of sales. So please, if you have any queries about Quest, then do come and speak to us. We're now about 220 people, and we're spread across 10 offices all around Europe and also in the Middle East. Just to give you a very quick look at the kind of projects that we're doing, a couple of notable ones: Sky Sports in Germany, a large 4K production center we built there, bringing their production back in-house. TPC in Switzerland, where we've helped them with their 2110 architecture. We were the master consultant on that job, and MediaCore at the bottom there, complete end-to-end, top-to-bottom new TV station for the national broadcaster in Singapore. And also some work in London there, Volant Media. It's a 24/7 news channel which we designed, built, and now support. Now, many of our customers are concerned with not just the technology transformation, but also really the whole digital transformation. That's covering the technology, the business aspects of their operation, and also the people aspects. And that's driven really by an explosion in the digital media space. And that explosion of consumer opportunity, if you like, is really pushing our customers to rethink their value chain. It's turning from a value chain, in fact, into more of a value cycle, with data right at the middle of that cycle. So understanding how your consumers are making their consumption decisions is really now are becoming ever more key to our customers in terms of their innovation cycles. So they need, in order to keep up with that innovation, in order to keep up with their customers and to keep that value cycle relevant and valuable, that data needs to be really at the center of the operation and democratized and available within the business. To do that, they're looking for three things. They're looking for flexibility, they're looking for efficiency, and they're looking for strategic innovation. And these are exactly the kind of qualities that you get from a cloud implementation. Cloud is supposed to give you that flexibility, right? It's supposed to give you that efficiency and supposed to give you the ability to adapt your workflow to meet your strategic goals as they evolve. So cloud is supposed to help, but in reality, we find ourselves some way behind the rest of the public. So let's say this is an interesting graph which shows that interesting concept that shows that if you assume that the general public is ready to adopt technology relatively quickly, but you find that enterprise IT and also broadcast, way over to the right there, is some way behind. Our friends in the IT sector are perhaps adopting cloud technologies faster than we are. I think about 50% of sort of enterprise IT workflows are cloud-based at the moment, but we're still keeping up. We're still struggling to keep up with that. But then you look at our traditional competitor in this space, Netflix, and they've really bucked the trend. They've addressed consumer needs faster, and they've also adapted their technology faster to meet those consumer needs. And what have they ended up with then? What does their topology look like? Some would call it a Death Star. And then you can see the Netflix topology is completely different to the traditional left to right topology that you might see in a traditional broadcast environment. Every one of those green dots represents a Netflix service. In total, there are about 600 different services, each installed 3 or even several hundred times. And note that image doesn't show any redundancy whatsoever. And all the blue lines are call paths between those services. So with a single access to the Netflix website, when somebody logs onto that website, there are something like 20 to 30 processes that happen in the front end. And then behind that, of course, it gets even more complicated. And 50 or 60 teams of people work on this system. How have they done that? Well, they've broken it down into a system of microservices. Now, if you consider the general trend from, obviously we're trying to get away from monolithic applications, right, over towards microservices. But the more you break up your applications into smaller and smaller pieces, the more fine-grained it becomes, then the harder it gets to manage. In a microservice architecture, each microservice performs a very specific function bound by the context it finds itself in. And the idea is that it can be replaced and upgraded without putting the whole application in risk. Now, tomorrow, I've got to take my car in to the garage. The bulb was blown. Now, in theory, I should be able to fix a bulb, right? Now, I've got a degree in engineering. I should be able to open the bonnet. And I've tried that, actually. I have changed the bulb a couple of times, and it still doesn't work. But when I open the bonnet, it's no longer like an old car. Everything's kind of one big block. Now, you compare that with a Formula One car. It's more like a system of microservices. Thousands of specialized parts that are running at a high performance, and it's very easy to get swapped and improve those parts over the course of a Formula One season. they never stop innovating. And in fact, the tires can be changed in less than 2 seconds. Now that doesn't come for free. Of course, you need the systems around that. It's not just about the way you design the tires. It's about the way you design the whole platform, and in fact, also the way that you design the team around it. So, as a solutions provider, as a system integrator in this world, what does that mean for me? Well, if system integration today is about building racks of servers and connecting them together with green cables and pressing the button to switch them on, then system integration tomorrow looks more like stacks of applications running in microservice containers. The cables between them are no longer bits of coax, but they become IP protocols, or they become APIs. And the power buttons are no longer physical switches, but they're more like automated deployment applications. So in the cloud, of course, there are still racks of servers, but they're probably not yours, and you probably won't know where they are, even though you're paying for them. Now, if you look at a typical system landscape with a bit of contribution, a bit of transmission, a bit of TV news, a bit of production, it's quite easy to find that everyone's got a cloud solution of some sort. And there are some cloud solutions that do almost everything. And there are some traditional trusted providers that we all know and love who each have their own flavor of a cloud solution. But everyone's approach is a little bit different. It can vary in terms of platform provider, in terms of how operationally responsible you are as a customer for those services once you've bought them and once you're running them. Are you running them yourself, or are you paying somebody else to run them? What kind of service level agreement are you getting? How do you pay for it? What's the billing method? How do you integrate with it, with the rest of your applications in your architecture? What's the storage model? Is there how do you monitor it? Do you receive log files? Do you get an API socket with monitoring data on it? How do you even manage your users? Each of your cloud-based applications may have most likely does have a completely separate user management system. So adding a user or removing a user becomes quite a task if you're dealing with 20 or 30 applications in your ecosystem. The cybersecurity level is probably different on everyone. The way that they scale will be different, and the way that you can analyze how much they cost, not just the way that you pay for it, but knowing how much money you're letting yourself in for, will vary from solution to solution. Some of them will be a case of lift and shift. You take an application that's been running very successfully on a server for many years, and you just virtualize it, put it in the cloud. And some applications will be more broken down into a true microservice model, and in what we might call cloud-ready architecture. So from each of these, while we might walk around a show like this and find that many of our trusted partners and suppliers have a solution that is cloud-ready, what does that really mean? It could mean it varies in so many different ways, and actually integrating those different ways in an efficient method, making all of those different applications and different scenarios work together cleanly and without becoming a Netflix and building the whole thing yourself from the bottom up becomes quite hard work. Now, there are some solutions in the IT world which attempt to address this problem, and these are called cloud management platforms, and these really provide a layer of management which is abstracted from the functionality of the products or product themselves. It allows you to manage the scaling of your applications, and the integration of them with each other. But until now, nothing really has existed like this in the media space. So these aren't really aimed at media customers. Now, full disclosure, this is the bit where I tell you what our solution is. But as a little bit of background, the reason we've come to a solution is that we've found through multiple projects that our clients are gradually having to resort to doing their own expensive custom development to bring together the cloud solutions that they want. Because the technology and APIs that exist in the media space just aren't really up to that task at the moment. And so we found ourselves building a toolkit for the projects that we were delivering. There came a point then when we decided to accelerate that toolkit, and we invested in a software development company, which is quite unusual, I think, probably for a system integrator. And what we've ended up with now not only helps us to be a leader in cloud-based software system integration in the media space, but it also gives us a product, a cloud management platform product for the media and broadcast space. And this is what we call Quest Cloud. Now, the important thing about Quest Cloud is that it is agnostic to the platforms that you use, multi-cloud. It doesn't matter which public cloud provider you're using, a hybrid scenario or on-premise platforms. It's agnostic to the applications that you choose to run. And what it does give you, though, is an open framework for simple, joined-up integration and management of best-of-breed solutions that you know and love in a software-defined, multi-cloud world. Our aim is that it radically simplifies that shift to a fully integrated multi-cloud architecture. We're not offering the actual business functionality here. We're not trying to replace any particular part of your chosen vendor landscape. What we're trying to do is build an ecosystem, a partner ecosystem, so our customers and our vendors all benefit, and everyone gets the best solution that they possibly can for the job. So its remit is pretty broad. It covers workflow orchestration and cloud platform automation. So you can see the orange dots there, which are also explained in the handout on your... Thank you. Perhaps I won't go into detail on all of them because we're running a little bit short on time, but the orange dots are explained in more detail on this piece of paper here. But just to pick out a few of the key points, Quest Cloud has the ability to orchestrate the workflows, the media workflows that you're working with. It can orchestrate the cloud scaling. So so let's say a workflow feeds into the need to expand your system, then Quest Cloud can manage that as well. It brings back the idea is that it centralizes monitoring data into a single place, so that it's easier to analyze and crunch, and therefore you can get real measurement data out of that centralized pot of monitoring information. And with that real measurement data, you can make cost-based decisions on changes to your workflow, even in a very short time frame. Security is built in. Another company in our stable is an IT cybersecurity company, and so some of their solutions will be built into this platform, so that security is not an additional headache. And also there'll be a single sign-on platform, so your user management is also centralized and consolidated. Now, it could be that you choose to have all of these services. So the white bands across the middle there are the services I've just talked about. The vertical light blue bands are the applications that you might be running, and the blue blocks at the bottom are the different cloud platforms. Now it might be that you start with with quite a simple solution with a single cloud provider, a few applications, and a few Quest Cloud services. And as you expand your system, you might add more cloud platforms and more services. So the idea with Quest Cloud is that it is very scalable, it's pay-as-you-go, and it can really be adapted to whatever the size of your enterprise is. Now, a little example of what we demoed at IBC. So we did a pre-launch at IBC, and we're doing a full launch at NAB. We've got about 20 developers working on this full-time, and 2 or 3 product managers guiding it. And at IBC, we demoed a real use case with a PAM in the middle, some automated AI transcription, and some automated transcoding decisions. And you can see that we had a real range of providers there, and all those providers were running on different cloud platforms. One of the cool things I liked about this, one of the things that impresses me and sometimes impresses the people that I'm talking to about it, is the speed with which we could integrate solutions here. So, for example, in the middle there was a well-known PAM, and at the top was Micro Focus Idle transcription service. Now, we happen to know that PAM provider had been trying to make an integration with that AI tool for about a year. Of course, it takes a long time for a large company to make those changes to their products. So they've got to schedule the development, they've got to get the resources on it, they've got to justify those resources, they've then got to integrate those changes, they've got to schedule the release of those changes, and they've got to fix all the things they broke while they were adding that feature. To change that API is quite a big job for a large company. Now we could come along now. We've got the API to the PAM, we've got the API to the AI tool. We can just join the top, and we did it in 2 days. And it was the first time our engineers had even touched it. So the speed of integration here is an incredibly powerful feature for us. Another feature that I quite like about what we did at IBC is over on the right there, there's a web transcoder there, and you can see that I've labeled elemental and bitmovie, and that's because there was a logic check that happened. When the user decided to export a clip in a web format, Quest Cloud checked some properties of that clip, which it had collected earlier on in the process. And it did a very simple check. It checked, is it longer than 5 minutes? If it's longer than 5 minutes, then farm it off to a bitmoving transcoder farm, which is more expensive but faster. If it's shorter than 5 minutes, then put it through elemental transcoding. I mean, it's just a simple example of the logic that can be built into the workflow, but that logic could be as complex as you like. And it could also drive not only decisions about which applications to use as part of a media workflow, but also about how to scale and how to reduce. So, for example, the Telestream transcoder will give us a value of how hard it's working, and if it gets to if you give it too much to do at one time, then it tends to slow down a little bit. So with getting that information back through Quest Cloud into a central place, the user, either manually or as part of a workflow, can decide to scale up that transcode farm and scale it back down again when the load decreases. One other example I'd like to talk about is something that we did at the IABM conference in December. And this again is a really good example of how powerful and fast it is to work in Quest Cloud. It was a hackfest. There were 2 teams. We were one of the teams, and we worked with Chiron Higo, Pebble Beach Systems, and Make TV. And in only 24 hours, we built a end-to-end system with solutions that had never worked together before, and a team that had never worked together before. And they came together, and in less than, in about 15 hours work, I guess, generated a system that really did something useful. How am I doing for time? Have I got? I've got 4 minutes. 5 minutes. Thank you. So I've got time to quickly tell you what was going on here. So what we did at the IBM conference was we had streams coming in from the conference through a Make TV virtual streaming router. These were then ingested into transport stream chunks and sat on an S3 bucket. Quest Cloud then manage the transcoding of those through FFmpeg into MP4 video files, which are then farmed off into a transcription engine where the text, what people were saying was turned into, what people were saying was turned into text, I should say. With that text, we then generated a word cloud that you can see in the top left here, which gave the user the opportunity to choose a hot topic that was being spoken about at that time. And when they selected that hot topic, a playlist was automatically built below them instantly. At the same time, that data that we're generating is going into graphics being created by Chiron Higo with facial recognition, also naming the people who are talking in the conference at that time. And then right at the end of the chain, Pebble Beach Systems Lighthouse system was playing out the video and the PNG graphics that had been pre-rendered from S3 buckets. So it may not have an immediate commercial application, this solution, but what it did demonstrate was the speed with which we can innovate a new solution and really collaborate in a whole new way. There were no code changes, the product was stable, and yes, AWS provided a lot of the bits, but in the end, the ability to put those bits together was what Quest Cloud brought to the party. We've got an increasing range of partners now, about 20 at IBC, and that's multiplying the closer we get to NAB. And in summary, we think that Quest Cloud really does bring an opportunity for a step change in the ease of integrating best-of-breed applications in the cloud world through the concepts of a cloud management platform, which are quite common in the IT industry, but we think for the first time now really focused on the media and broadcast space, using our expertise as a system integrator and as a software developer now, but also not trying to replace the job of our partners, but working with them to generate an ecosystem of opportunity, we could say. So I think we're out of time, so I'd like to invite any questions from the floor while the video plays in the background. So, no questions today, but suffice to say, thank you very much again for coming and listening. And if you'd like to know more about Quest Cloud or about the services that Quest Media offers, then please do come and see myself, Aaron, Theo, or Francoise. We'll hang around for a bit. So thank you very much for your time. Thank you.